Hey everyone. Today I want to talk about why uncomfortableness is your secret weapon to explosive growth, material change in your life. Growth, real life-changing growth, only happens when there's some level of uncomfortableness. I built a business that hit the Inc. 5000 fastest growing companies in America 7 times, and it didn't come from being comfortable. In fact, it felt like certain parts were under the guillotine much of the time. If you're not feeling uncomfortable, then really, I don't think your goals are big enough, really. Why is it a secret weapon? Well, because a lot of people will avoid pain. The thing is about the studies say that we will, as human beings, do more to avoid pain than we will do to gain pleasure. And then we end up living in this mediocrity. I don't think anybody wakes up saying, I really want to be mediocre today or for the rest of my life. So think about the last time you grew. Maybe you landed a big client. Maybe you lost a chunk of weight. Maybe you started doing something consistently. I bet it wasn't easy. It takes work. It takes sweat and tears sometimes. It takes doing things when you don't want to do it. And when you're living outside your comfort zone, that's where the real journey begins. I think if you reflect on that, you'll find that it's true. When we were scaling IT authorities, I remember our largest customer at the time was about 900 users for one customer. And we landed a 3,000 user account. And that meant we were going to have to add a lot of staff. And with a lot of staff comes payroll and healthcare. And oh, by the way, we're going to grow out of our office space. It was insurmountable in so many ways. It was quite scary, in fact. But we pushed through because we believed in ourselves, and we also believe in the philosophy of the longer you can remain in an uncomfortable state, the more successful you will be. Yeah, was it discomfort? Yes. But you know what it built us? It built us a 7-time Inc. 5000 company and the #1 company to work for in the entire state of Florida, literally beating out Microsoft. So uncomfortability or uncomfortableness paid off in spades. Think about it in the gym. If you're working out and you're trying to build muscle and you get to that point where it's burning, that's not when you stop. It's not when you pause. That's when you dig in. That's when you let grit take over and you push through the pain, because that is when you are tearing muscle. And the no pain, no gain, that's true, particularly in muscle building and in the gym. So, when I coach people, I give them 3 tips to deal with this kind of conundrum. Where are you? Are you pushing yourself to that uncomfortable zone? And a lot of it comes from the fear of doing so. So the first thing is name the fear, right? What is it that scares you? And write it down. By writing it down, it becomes a little bit less overwhelming. And number 2 is just take one single step in that direction. Just any kind of little step in the direction. Maybe for me, it was putting pen to paper and figuring out what the actual overhead costs were going to be, instead of living in this nebulous world of not knowing, oh wow, our payroll is going to be $500,000 a month. And then we reverse engineered it and thought, oh wow, well, we're actually making a lot more money. This is going to be profitable, etc. And then it made it a lot easier to do. And the last is to get a guide, get a help, get a coach, get a mentor, get a friend, share these fears, and ask, what they felt like and where their limits were and where their push zones were. Because, you're going to always find that uncomfortableness isn't your enemy. It tells you you're on the right track. So I want to challenge you today. What's one uncomfortable thing you've been avoiding in your life? Just one. Let's start with that. Is it hiring a CFO? Or is it, investing in your business? Is it starting a side gig? Is it buying the health membership? Is it retaining a trainer? Right? There's something that you can do to move yourself forward. And I invite you to do that. In fact, I'd like to get a little bit more engaged with some of these videos. So, please drop it in the comments. I'd love to hear the little things that people are doing to move their life forward. The last podcast I said inch by inch, it's a cinch. What's that inch for you? There's a beautiful concept that I came across back in 2007. It was called the 212 degree principle. And it was pretty simple, and this is why I liked it, because it was something anyone can remember. And it's at 211 degrees, water is hot, and at 212 it boils. Just one extra degree goes from hot water to boiling water. At 211 it will never boil, but just 1 degree more will go from hot to boiling, and boiling creates steam, and steam can power locomotives. So I took that as a translation of your very best. That 1 degree of uncomfortableness, that little bit more, that just a little bit more. Maybe it's an hour more of work. Maybe it's another hour of reading. Maybe it's just that 4 or 5 extra sets in your workout. Whatever it is, there's something that can translate to an uncomfortable zone that you can identify, that you can push in your life. Know that every time you do a 212 thing, moment, event, you're moving toward greatness, and you're moving away from mediocrity. And if you're ready to turn your discomfort into explosive growth and you need a coach, DM me. I'd be happy to help. And you can go to jasoncaras.com for all those resources and the ways to contact me. Thank you for your time. Inch by inch, it's a cinch. Take a step today.